Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
BooBaes.
Hi.
Hello, and welcome to
BooBaes.
That's right. We're your hosts. I'm Caitlin.
And I'm Joshua.
And today we're here to talk to you about a film of many personalities.
Yeah, it's got a lot of layers to it.
Like an onion, like Shrek.
Like an onion, like Shrek, like the swamp.
Swamp. Get out of the swamp.
2016's American psychological thriller film.
Oh, I wrote down
Split.
2017. Oh no.
Yeah.
Did it come out somewhere first?
Yeah, you know what? It did because of it premiered in September 26th of 2016 at the Fantastic Fest Film Festival, but it was released worldwide and in the United States January 20th, 2017, early January or early in the year.
I just went with what was
2017.
on Peacock. I just wrote that down.
2017 is what it is. And because that's what Caitlin says, and it's right.
And that's always right.
And that's what matters. We are directed by M. Night Shyamalan.
Yep.
So, you know, we know him from The Sixth Sense with The Sixth. I can't say that. The Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense.
Thank you.
Sixth Sense.
Which we did cover. And we've also covered
and that had Bruce Willis in it as well.
It did. And we covered Signs.
Yes.
Which was also directed by him. Have we covered The Village?
No.
I don't know, right? No. Okay. But yeah, so
right? It was Bruce Willis in Sixth Sense, right?
Yes, it was him.
And yeah, Bruce Willis makes a cameo at the end of this movie.
Yes, he does, reprising his role from the other film that M. Night directed, which was Unbreakable. But
yes, I've never seen that.
I've never seen it either, to be honest with you. I've seen Glass and I've seen well, I guess that's it. This one. But yeah, I understand what had happened in it. Like I've seen like one of those quick recap videos. A plot summary, but I've never actually watched it. But yeah, this movie has some really good actors in it, like James McAvoy, Anya Taylor-Joy, Betty Buckley,
Haley Lou Richardson, Jessica Sula.
And it is a pretty like horrific ride in terms of like real life horror, because if like this were to happen to me or someone else or someone like a loved one, or I think of like my niece or something, like maybe she was at the mall with her friends or something, like it's terrifying to like know that this does and happens literally probably right now somewhere in America, like someone's getting abducted. That's crazy.
Yeah, don't like to think about it. It's scary.
Yeah, most definitely. And I don't know, I guess we can just jump right into it, right?
Yeah, we open up with a birthday party. We've got Casey, who's played by Anya Taylor-Joy, and she's spacing off. She doesn't look like she really belongs or fit in with everyone.
Kind of that social awkward vibes.
Yeah, and then we get that some other girls, we don't quite get their names yet, I don't think, saying that this was a mercy invite. And like, this
Yeah.
is what you do. This is what you get when you do a mercy invite. Like, you get this weird girl in the corner not having any fun.
Yeah, it's Claire and Marcia. Claire and Marcia are the other two girls. But
Yeah.
yeah, and so I mean, it's like doing the nice thing, but like also it sounds fucked up. Because
Yeah.
it's not even like almost not even from like a real generous place, and like maybe they could have taken the time to like try to like include her or get her to open up, but it seems like they just kind of just like let her be. You know what I mean? Which I
Yeah.
mean, they're kids, so I mean, I don't know. It's high school. It's whatever. I mean, we all know high school. Yada yada yada.
BooBaes.
But yeah, the dad is like, well, if her ride's not coming to get her, we're gonna have to take her home. So this is what ends up happening because her ride is not there to get her. So they invite her to go with her. And the daughter has to be like, well, if you don't come with us, you'll miss his bad dad jokes. So you can't let that happen. And they end
Yeah.
up getting out to the parking
Lot.
space outside lot, yeah. And they're getting in the vehicle and we see a POV shot of someone approaching the father and he's like, can I help you? And then we don't see much because we're in the vehicle with the girls, the two in the back, Claire and Marsha are distracted. Casey's kind of noticing something in the mirror, which is kind of already kind of giving us more let's giving us insight to her character too, like on how observant she is, and she's smart. I'll say that, I guess we can say that, but not that the
Yeah.
other two
I would
characters
say
aren't smart. I mean, the other girls weren't like dumb or anything because they do
no,
have like
Claire definitely tried to like make some
think
moves
of,
happen.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So
And
I
it's
want to say
just,
they're dumb.
yeah, Casey's just observant
Yeah,
and
and
is knows how to work a situation,
hmm which
this
we'll
unfortunate
learn.
situation that she's in.
Yeah, we'll learn more about later through the film. But anyways, we cut to someone hopping into the vehicle and uh-oh, that is not dad.
It's not. And I really liked all the shots of her looking like us, kind of looking into the rear view mirror or the side mirror. And then, like from her point of view, I really liked all those shots. And then I like how long it takes for us to notice, like, she
That it's
knows,
not the
it's like
dad.
she knows that it's not the dad, but she takes such a long time to turn around and face him.
Yeah.
And,
And did
uh,
you know, I don't know if you noticed, it's very subtle. She had a little tear roll down. Like already as she's turning and trying as looking at him, she has a little tear.
oh,
It's
yeah,
it's
I
so
think
it's so little.
maybe noticed. I think I remember the tears. I watched the beginning of the movie the other day and
Yeah,
finished it
yeah,
today.
yeah. It
So,
was it was a little tear. No, I think I only noticed because I had to rewind for some reason, and I then noticed on the second time. I didn't notice it the first time.
mm,
hmm but yes, it's James McAvoy's character, which I guess, well, what should we like overall? Do we just call him Kevin, or do we use the
yeah,
aliases for each time that we know, like?
I
Because overall, it's Dennis,
used
really,
it is
for
Dennis.
the most part.
And then for at some points I do refer to him more as Barry, even though we find out later that it was Dennis impersonating Barry.
hmm
Um, but yeah, I would say Dennis because it's really not Kevin who's
Yeah.
there. Kevin is the body, but
hmm
he's asleep. So I would say Dennis. This is Dennis in this moment.
Yeah. So we see Dennis, and I love how um, was it the kitty?
Yeah.
Super cute.
They're
It sounded like a
in
child, like. "Meow."
yeah, they're in a playful mood. They were like pop, pop, pop at each other in the face here a second
Yeah.
ago. was watching them like fight over the chairs, and then now they're running around and they're talking.
That's so cute. I can hear the little pitter patters. It's which is totally fine. I love how she's just like, sir, I think you're in the wrong vehicle.
Yeah,
Because
Claire doesn't even miss a beat, and then she's just like, she has no idea that they're in a dangerous situation, really, it felt like.
yeah, and then he just puts that mask on and just like I guess what like spray chloroform
I
or
was
as
assuming it was chloroform, but I don't know.
I guess he put it
I
in
don't
a
really know
bottle,
how
or I guess
chloroform
that's possible.
works.
Me either. I
Yeah,
didn't know that was possible like
that they
that, I
had
guess.
spray versions because that seems dangerous.
I want some. Not to like
Yeah,
harm people or do what he's doing. I
but
mean
if
like
you were getting attacked,
for defensive purposes.
yeah.
I would totally spray you.
No,
Just
I
to
would
see
let
what it
you.
does.
Be kind of curious
Next to a
what it does.
couch. We can know, can
Yeah,
you
so
we'll
that way
spray
I
each
just
we'll be so dumb and scared we'll spray each other at the
at the
same
same time.
time. Yes, and let's see who goes down first. Oh, that would be a really fun game. Fight it and see who goes down first.
It'd
But
be
then we would
like,
need someone else. Andrew would have to be watching so that way he could record because then we wouldn't know
and to
who
make
would go
sure that
down
they don't
first.
like die.
Oh, that's true. We're totally kidding, everybody. We're not really going to do this, and this is not a reflection of Rogue Media Network or anybody telling you to chloroform yourself. So we have all this happening, and it's like, what the heck, what the crap? Because it's like really terrifying. Because honestly, this is happening in broad daylight, like just in the car. Like nobody's, I guess, paying attention.
Yeah, it
You
seems
know.
like a perfectly normal situation. It's a normal day, like nothing could go wrong. And then the most god awful thing is happening.
Yeah, and then unfortunately, Casey tries to get out, and I love how she's like, it's so slow of a reaction to do it, but she eventually just tries to open the door. Obviously, he hears this, and then I love how it's not even like an immediate like, he looks at her like with this glare of like almost like how dare you, and
Yeah.
then puts the mask on, and then I guess it's chloroforming her, but it looks more or less like he's like almost punching her out, like knocking her out. I don't know.
Yeah, regardless, she's knocked unconscious, whatever he
Hmm.
does. And I really loved how
We
they're
got
like
like the
we
credits
get
and
the
title
credit.
card and all that.
Yeah, and I
Hmm.
liked how the credits were like split out. Like there's like 23 of
Yeah.
them,
Yeah.
showing that there's a bunch of like before
People and
settling on the one. Yeah. It like spaced it out to where there was like 23 of the same words, and then it would focus in on the one of them. And I
hmm
was like, that's like them coming into the light. I thought that was really clever.
Oh, I didn't even think about that coming into the light, but yes, you're right. And showing us like, the depth of the character that we're about to see, and who is literally dragging these girls to his in his secret lair, essentially. We're in his lair.
Yeah. And I
Uh-huh.
like how every time like that we get in the darkness, we're getting the credits, which is when they're like unconscious, but then we're getting little blips of Casey coming to life and
Yeah.
opening her eyes and seeing the other two girls getting like loaded up and then slipping back into unconsciousness. And then we get more credits. I just thought it was really tastefully done. They did a
Yeah.
really good job with this opening.
We get to kind of see it through different perspectives, and then they end up we're in his in this holding area, and Casey's awake and she's looking across the room, and Marcia and Claire are looking at her, and they're like, how did we get here? Like, where are we? What's going on? They
What
don't
happened
know.
to my dad? And I was like, bitch, you think she
Mm-hmm.
knows?
Yeah,
Like,
that's literally what
she's
I was
in the same
thinking.
position as you.
Yeah, I was thinking that they thought like because I don't know, she was in the front seat or that they got knocked out first, like that she had information. But yeah,
Yeah.
same. Why would she know? They're also like they huh I don't know, we'll keep going. But he walks in, like or yeah, he walks in. So immediately we're getting into it, and he is telling them that this will only take a minute, and he wants to take one of them, and he chooses Marsha, right?
Yeah, he snatches
Mm-hmm.
Marcia up,
Mm-hmm.
and then he closes the door behind them, and we hear a struggle going on,
Yeah,
but we
and she's
don't
like,
see
no.
what's actually happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the door bursts back open and he's like throwing her back in there.
Oh,
And
we
yes.
forgot to mention that Casey, like literally before he took her, like got up in her face and was like, pee on yourself. Like, and
Oh
so
yeah.
and so essentially I believe that's what she did, because she comes back and she's all wet.
Yeah, she had peed on herself, and I think
Mhm.
that's I don't know if they knew that he had OCD. Yeah, I don't think they did,
Yeah.
but um it made him freak out and put her back in.
Yeah.
Um and then we flash back to her dad and uncle talking about buck fever. And I can't
Mhm.
remember if it was because I've seen this movie before, but instantly the uncle gave me creep vibes. And I was just like, I feel like he's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But I couldn't remember. I don't know if that's like a preconceived notion that I had because I've already seen the movie.
Yeah.
Um, or like if I thought that originally or what, but
Well, I think from like tropes in movies and like unfortunately like the state of the world and society, it kind of gives that. It's like already like you can kind of sense like, well, maybe there's something nefarious or something not so innocent happening. Um, which is why she keeps having these flash baskets,
flesh basket.
flashbacks back to these interactions, especially the hunting interactions with her uncle
Yeah.
and dad. And so she's having this flashbacks this flashback, and then after that we cut to the girls are on the news. Immediately we understand that, like, okay, I guess some people were paying attention because now it's a headlining story. And we see the therapist, and she is
Yeah, we're with
this is kind
Dr.
of
Fletcher.
Fletcher, and just kind of happening in the background. And then she's answering an email because she's got an email from one of her clients, and is requesting to speak with her immediately.
Yeah.
And then we cut back to the girls in the hideout holding cell area. It's not even, it's like a room, and it has even a restroom and everything. And they're
Pretty
talking
nice.
about,
Little
yeah,
hotel room.
I'm literally thinking like, oh, it's not too bad. It's a pretty good setup. And so they're talking about
Except for
ways of
wasn't there
fighting
only two
back.
beds?
Yeah, there's only two.
Yeah.
So, well,
That's a little not
wasn't it
ideal.
also, well, because he wasn't planning on kidnapping Casey, right? It was just
Yeah, I think he
only
well,
planned for
later on it
Claire
does say
and
that
Marcia.
he followed these three girls for 4 days.
N I'm pretty sure it was just two, because she doesn't hang out with them. She's not friends with them.
Yeah, I know, but it said three girls.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
And so
But it would
we
make sense
have
that he was only planning to capture the two of them,
the
but
two. And she was like, "Hi, my name's Casey."
yeah.
Gets knocked out. And so then we have Casey necessarily not being so optimistic and being more realistic, because she's like, we don't necessarily know or have all of the information yet of what we're dealing with. And y'all are trying to, like, already plan this big escape. Like we don't even know how how to do that yet. And
Yeah,
then
she's
we
basically saying we got to play the game because
yeah.
she's saying if all three of us go ham on him, then we have a fighting chance of escaping.
Hmm.
Um, but Casey is saying like, no, we gotta we gotta figure out more and play his game.
Yeah, especially I think she mentions too, of course, that like she was like he like carried us all in easily, like, he would punch you out like with one, what
Yeah,
is
one
it?
punch
One
from him would
punch.
take us out.
Yeah. And so they're kind of like they're very like, well, damn, like, all right then. And then we have her going into another flashback, I believe.
Yeah,
with
back to
her
hunting
uncle.
again.
Yeah, and then we cut to Barry seeing the therapist.
Yeah, Barry with Dr. Fletcher now,
Yeah,
and she can tell something's up.
yeah,
She is very intuitive, and she's like noticing all these little things, like Barry is moving, all like looking at things on the wall and keeps adjusting things,
yeah.
and she is paying attention to that, and um she keeps asking him what happened, and he's like, well, nothing happened, I just was feeling down, but now I'm feeling better. And she really is trying to get to the root of the problem, and the whole time he's
Kind of
like,
deflecting.
yeah, deflecting, and he's not letting her in. And he like almost leaves without his sketches, and
Hmm.
she's like, you're usually very protective of your sketches, because Barry is like a fashion designer of
Yeah.
sorts and really enjoys fashion and draws sketches of like women's clothing and maybe men's clothing, but it looked like they were all women's clothing.
Hmm.
um and he was about to leave without his sketches, and she was like, what are you doing? Like, you're usually so protective of your sketches, you need your sketches. And he's like, oh shit, you're right. So she caught him slip up.
Already, yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. She's picking up on these subtle like nuances because of course she's like been he's been her patient for so many years already. I think 7 was mentioned. 7 years, maybe. I might have made that
Something like
up,
that.
but I think it's been a while. So she like knows
Yeah,
and understands like when one personality does one thing and what one does another.
and has a
And
pretty solid understanding, we find out later, of each of his distinct personalities.
yeah. And so we cut back to the girls, right? They're in the room, the holding area, and now they're like, oh, there's other people with him because they hear what they think to be a woman's voice. Um, and so which we come to find out is really Patricia.
Yeah. So we've
Yeah.
got Dennis and Patricia having a conversation outside,
Hmm.
and we hear Patricia saying that she'll talk to him. Oh, she comes in, and they're like ready to be like, let us
Yeah, yeah.
out, like, because they were
Help
hearing
us.
a woman's voice.
Yeah.
And when they open the door, you just see, we don't get to see what they see, but at first, but you can see this like look of horror just wash over all their faces.
Yeah.
And then the camera pans to Patricia, and it's James McAvoy dressed up in women's clothing, saying stuff like, I'll talk to him. He
Hmm.
listens to me, kind of thing. So, like, don't worry. You guys are okay. I'll talk to him. He knows he's not supposed to touch you and stuff
Hmm.
like that. He knows. And she's like this rather reassuring kind of character, while also
Very
simultaneously
creepy
being the most terrifying woman on
out
the
of all of
face of the
them.
planet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause she's
Uh,
so meticulous, and so she's so
Calculating.
well thought out. Yeah. Calculated.
She's literally,
And
you can
it's
see it
just
in,
like, ugh.
it's like you can see it in her eyes as she's talking to you. She's working everything out as she's talking to you. Like it's so creepy. Um,
Yeah.
and then we have her talking um to them about cleaning, right? Or something like that. Or I don't even know. But they tried to ask for food, don't they? Because she's
Um,
trying.
I don't know if they ask for food, but we get Patricia saying that they are sacred food.
They
And I
are
promise,
sacred food. That's
yeah.
okay. You know, I totally remember that. I think my phone corrected that, auto corrected that to scared food. I was like, why is
Oh,
it scared? Why are they scared food? No, there's okay. Okay, got
sacred.
it, got it. Okay.
Same letters.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so yes, they are sacred food, which will come into play later. And then we get to meet after that rousing creepy thing with those two characters, Hedwig, right? Hedwig like wakes up to Hedwig.
Yeah, at first Patricia leaves and then Dennis comes back in, and this is where I think you were saying he
Oh
asks
yeah.
them to keep their area neat. And
Mm-hmm.
he has like such an attention to cleanliness. And that's why he brought them like the different bottles, and he was like, the blue one is for the tile, the pink is for the ceramic, and
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. But then yeah, Hedwig is with them now, and Hedwig is a 9-year-old boy, and he's a little more naive
Yeah.
than all the other ones, but he's also very conniving himself.
He's mischievous.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And he is basically kind of bringing um a warning about the beast, right?
Yeah, he says he's
Mm-hmm.
on the move, and
Mm-hmm.
he says he's done awful things to people and he will do awful things to you.
Little rhyme in there. Um,
Mhm.
and so she's talking to Hedwig. And then after that, I believe at this point the girls
I
are
love when he
now,
goes, "I just ate a hot dog."
yeah, he's silly. He's
He is
very
silly.
innocent. He's very like, it's like he doesn't understand the gravity because he's a kid. It's not understanding the gravity of what the situation really is.
Yeah.
Um,
And they
and
realize
and
that.
how he's getting manipulated as well.
Yeah, because then as soon as Casey realizes that he is more naive and stuff, she jumps on it,
Mm-hmm. She takes advantage
and
of it.
she starts asking him for help and saying
Yeah.
like, "Hey, can you get us out of here?"
Mm-hmm. She's realizing that like these are distinctly different people within the same body.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
cluing in. And then this is where Hedwig says that he can't steal the light. This is, I think, the first mention of the light that we get
Mm-hmm.
in the film from Mr. Dennis for too long, or he'll get angry.
Yeah.
And
And
then
so
this is where she says, "Come here, I have something to tell you."
what did she tell him? I genuinely can't remember.
Oh, she tells him, this guy is coming for you.
Oh,
And
yeah.
she says that she overheard Patricia and Dennis talking and saying that they wanted a boy this time. And so that they were coming for Hedwig, and that we're all just kind of sitting ducks here. So we all need to escape together. She's trying to get Hedwig on their side.
She's so fucking smart.
She is. Yeah, really, genuinely.
Mm-hmm. What a good, well-written character. And so after this, we cut to the girls then are finding a way through they're finding their way through that drywall, right? They're starting to knock on the drywall.
Yeah, because he runs off, but before he
Yeah,
did, he said something about after all the trouble he went through making this room safe
that's
and
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
And then she's like, "Oh, this is all new drywall. There's something that they're trying to hide." So yeah, they're trying to figure out what he meant, and they're all knocking around like for like a
Seems
stud in
like
the wall or
everywhere.
something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, even on the ceiling. And they find it makes a like hollow sound,
Yeah.
and
Like a
so Claire gets her shoe and
mm-hmm.
starts banging away on it. Thank God she was wearing heels.
Yeah, she's able to really cut through there with the what's that called? The hill part, the thing, right? Yeah, right through there. And she is it's like a vent system.
Yeah, the ventilation system.
Mm-hmm. And they're like, okay, yay. And at this point already she's trying to get through it, Claire. But it's who's at the door? Is it Dennis? Dennis is
It's
on the other
Hedwig.
side? Hedwig's on the other side, and he's like, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, what are you guys doing in there? And
Yeah.
that's when whenever we see freaking Claire's like trying to use every ounce of upper body strength she has in her body to get up there. And she does eventually, thankfully, but it's such a good
Yeah.
moment too of like building up suspense because they're telling him to because the other girls are like telling him like, oh, nothing, we're just stay out there or something like that.
Yeah, they're like, we're changing. Don't come in here. But then
Yeah.
it turns into Dennis midway,
Yeah.
and then he just brute strength opens the door, just like slides it open. Like,
Mm-hmm.
not even like a big hit. He just like pushes it open so slowly, and the girls just go sliding with it. Like, there's nothing they could do.
Yeah. It's a cute little
Little
ghost.
ghost.
She's cute.
Cute.
And so we have then what happens?
Claire
Oh,
escapes to a locker room of
she
sorts.
bolts. Yeah.
Yeah. And she hides in a locker, and we see Dennis walk past her. But of course, it's that, we're getting that shot of her hiding, trying to like hold her breath in the locker. And
Mm-hmm.
then all of a sudden, we get his face appearing outside the locker.
Yeah, just
And
like,
he's like, I thought I lost you.
and then she gets out of the locker and she's all dirty, and he's like, ugh, look at you, you filthy animal. And he's just like, can you please take off your blouse? Because we need to clean it or get you in something clean clothes. And then that's whenever we have him bringing her back to the area, but he's not taking her to the same room as the other girls. He's putting her in this separate room, which looks like just like a I don't like a I don't even know, like a
Like a
closet,
little closet. Yeah.
work area thing, and yeah, puts her in that separate room, and then that's whenever we go back to the other girls, and he's just like, yeah, she's not gonna be coming back in here anymore.
Yeah, and you guys won't see her again. And then he just got done patching up the ceiling, and there's a lot of dust. So he tells the other girls to undress from their dirty clothes.
Hmm.
So he makes Marcia take off her skirt, and then Casey take off her outer shirt.
Hmm. But
And
she still
later
has,
on, Hedwig mentions, like, you wear so many shirts.
yeah. There was layers. And so then we come back to Dr. Fletcher, and she's talking to about her research on DID to therapists and other therapists on Skype. Um, and then I think Barry shows up, right? Barry stops by.
Yeah. And she
Yeah.
is saying, I think it's important to note that there are times when two identities can share the light.
Oh yeah.
And like basically that she's had, I almost said customers,
Clients.
patients,
Patients.
clients that have been able to use both like their right and left hands at the same time,
Oh
taking notes
yeah.
on two completely different things. But they're all the same person, but there were two identities sharing the light at that moment.
I could use that.
Um, and she says, have these individuals through their suffering unlock the potential of the brain, saying that, like, are they more than us? Like,
Hmm.
have this, they
Unlock
seemingly
like
have this, yeah, they've unlocked like the full potential of the brain.
like have now basically it's almost like evolution
Yeah.
into a better species. And
What was
so
that movie with Scarlett Johansson?
uh,
Lucy?
Lucy, but that's because she took drugs.
Yeah.
She was well, I guess she didn't even necessarily take them. Poor thing was used as a drug mule, and then they got launched into her body.
Yeah.
But
And then she
yeah,
could use
and
her
then
full
she
brain.
needed them. That's crazy though, to think that. Isn't that a myth though? I think that's a myth that we only use like what is it, like 10% of our brain? I think we use more than that. But I understand that I guess we could use more. I don't know.
We're
But
dummies.
we're dummy dum dums. But yes, just like Barry is, who is coming in because he's really Dennis, because he's trying to fool Dr. Fletcher, and she's like, I don't think you're Barry.
Yep. And
Hmm.
he she's asking to talk to some of the other personalities because she thinks um she's talking to Dennis. She says Kevin's body has 23 identities, and I believe I'm talking to Dennis. And he's like, Wicca what?
Yeah, acting
Um
very much like, no, no, this is me, Barry. Like I love Louis Vuitton. He's not saying Louis Vuitton, but he's very much trying to act like
I
Barry
love
would.
fashion. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, ask me anything about fashion right now.
Hmm.
And he like, and she says like, Dennis has OCD and likes to watch young girls dance naked. And he's like, OCD, like, look, I can get this chocolate right now, open it with my mouth and get chocolate on my sweater, and look, I don't even care, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's really trying, must have been
Yeah.
fighting every ounce of his actual being.
Yeah, for real, because that takes a lot of effort. And that's whenever we have it then cutting to her with the security guard, or somehow she's getting the footage of the building feed of him leaving, and then she watches
Yeah.
and notices how he walks over trash, and she's like, now the dude is like, now why would somebody do that? And she's like, because he's deliberately doing that because he's putting on an act to throw her off.
Yeah, so she's on to him, even
Mm-hmm.
though this time he completely like sticks to his guns and pretends to be Barry the whole time.
It's like
But
overacting.
yeah, exactly. And this is where we learn too that Patricia and Dennis have been banned from the light because they're unstable.
Mm-hmm.
And she is noticing that something's up, even though they're supposed to be supposedly banned.
Yeah, and I think this is we get mentioned that because well we know why Dennis is a problem, but Patricia believes in the beasts or believes
Yes.
in some sort of former some higher power thing. And then yes, we're back in with the girls, and I think Casey's having another flashback, which is like a dream or something that's happening.
Yeah, we
Or
flash back to Dad again, and he says they're over the dead deer's body, and
Mhm.
she's saying that, um, or he's the dad is saying the thrill is whether or not you can outsmart the animal, and then that's when Patricia shows up,
Mhm.
and so the whole time we kind of get that Casey's hunting,
Yeah.
like even though she's in the like prey position right now, she's hunting her opponent back
Mhm.
and using all of these her past
Tactics.
and her against and stuff for her knowledge to against him and to help her out of this situation.
Yeah, it's really um ironic, that fact that she has all of this previous training in dealing with being the prey and the hunter and vice versa. And unfortunately having to be in this really crappy situation to
Yeah.
use all of that knowledge. Yeah. And really is a crutch to um I guess Patricia and Dennis's plans because she's the adversary that they weren't counting to have. Um,
Yeah, definitely.
and so the girls are getting fed at this point, right? They're feeding them.
Yeah, and
And
Patricia's
they're
combing her hair.
hmm
I loved whenever she was combing the hair and she was like, it's good, right? It has paprika in it. Paprika.
yeah, she's really
I
proud.
was like I was like
She's
that's you're terrifying, but that was cute.
Yeah, and but I think it's either Marsha or Casey. I think it's Marsha, and she like I don't like I don't feel like eating in here. Can we, we want to go somewhere like normal or something like that. So she takes them to the kitchen.
Yeah, she says we're gonna have a proper meal.
Yeah.
Takes them to the kitchen, and she also puts flowers in their hair to show how important they are.
Mm-hmm.
And once they get to the kitchen, Marcia asks if Claire can come eat with us, and she's like, absolutely not.
Yeah, she's like
No,
that
no,
whore
no.
can fuck off.
Yeah,
Yeah. And that's whenever we have Patricia getting up to make another sandwich, I believe, because she's like someone's still hungry or something like that.
yeah.
Right?
She, I think, was just going to make them another sandwich because
Oh,
they're being good.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
but then this is where Marcia decides to attack Patricia
Mm-hmm.
with the chair and hits her, and then leaves Casey alone, kind of in this
Yeah.
vulnerable situation. And because obviously Patricia doesn't go down with just that chair whack.
Yeah, and honestly though, like between the two of them and the chair and then being like what's in the kitchen, like honestly, I feel like they could have maybe have done something.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think they could
But
have.
because it was so uncoordinated, and then just she just swacks her with that chair and just takes off. Poor Casey. And I love how Casey's just like, oh shit. And then Patricia's just like, go back to your room and close the door. And she's just like, okay, master.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
and then this is where we get Patricia's first use of the line, "In the sun we will find our passion, in the sun we will find our purpose."
mhm.
She uses this line, I think, at least one other time in the film. But she
Uh,
says to her, "You have always been protected. That's why we chose you." And it's like, you haven't seen Casey's full past yet,
yeah.
and just how creepy her uncle is.
Mhm.
But you can kind of tell that, like, no, maybe she hasn't always been protected.
Yeah. And now we're chasing after Marsha, who's running and trying to get away. Um, right? And then she ends up um wait. No, she gets her.
Yeah, she gets her, she locks them all in separate rooms
Yeah.
now. Um,
So and then we wake up with Casey with Hedwig in her bed.
yeah, and we also flash back to the uncle really fast, and she's watching him from the tent. And this was where it was, because he kept like looking back at her,
Yeah.
and it was kind of
Insinuating.
creepy in a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also, Dennis took another one of her shirts because of a crumb, but she still, this is where Hedwig is like, "You got a lot of shirts," because Hedwig's in bed with her.
Mm-hmm. And then this is whenever we cut to my next note is like Barry decides. Oh, is this is when we get more information about how Barry decides who gets to stand in the light.
Yeah, Barry gets to decide, but Hedwig now says that he can wish himself into the light whenever he wants, and that Barry no longer decides.
Yeah.
But Barry was the, I guess, kind of main functioning, the hierarchy. And but now Hedwig and Dennis and Patricia have taken Barry off his throne, essentially,
Mm-hmm. And they are now in control, and that Dennis and Patricia believe in the beast.
and what he
Um,
can do.
and then this is whenever we then cut again to Dennis meeting up with Dr. Fletcher, and at this point they're talking, and she
Really
finally,
fast.
uh-huh,
Sorry. Hedwig does Hedwig asks to kiss her and stuff, and
oh
then he
yeah,
says the line like, "You might be pregnant now," which was really
that's right,
funny.
yeah,
But then he says, "I like to listen to music in my room. It's by a
oh
window,
yeah,
and Kanye West is my man, and I love to just dance and listen to his music." And so Casey comes up with the idea of like, maybe I could watch you dance and listen to music with you, and says maybe you could sneak me there. And then
mm-hmm.
Hedwig is like, "You trying to trick me, etc." He loved the word etc.
etc.
Um, but then she tells him that she used to get or gets into trouble on purpose so that way she can be away from other people, and kind of tells him this vulnerable fact about herself. And he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll bring you to the room."
Mm-hmm.
Um, but only after Dennis finishes his little get ready with me ritual. But yes, then we're back with Fletcher and Dennis. But I thought that was important.
No, yeah, it's gonna definitely come up a little bit here in a moment, and um, we also get to see once again how she's like kind of manipulating now. Poor Hedwig's just getting manipulated by everybody,
Yeah.
honestly. Poor guy. And so yes, we are with Dr. Fletcher and Dennis, and she finally gets the breakthrough to him. Right? Because I don't remember what she says exactly, because she's like,
She was talking about the incident at work where
yeah, with the
two
girls
girls, yeah, came up, teenage girls came and put his hand up their
on their
shirt.
breath.
Yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
so she says, that might have triggered you and made Dennis, who is really strong and disciplined, and says, you are not evil to me, you are necessary. And that
Mm,
kind of is what brings him, she
that's
validates
right.
him
Yeah, that's
and
right.
brings him to the forefront. And I will say the musical cues in this movie are spot on, because there was just the most subtle musical, like this low note of darkness that came in,
Hmm.
and it really showed his like transfer, his shift of personalities.
Very
And I
quickly
thought it did a
too.
really good job.
Very
Yeah.
quickly too, just in the subtleness of her, like you said, validating him and making him feel like he wasn't like, because she was like, the other ones think that you're like evil, right? And she's like, I don't
Yeah.
think you are. So and immediately he's able to drop that wall, because she at this point has not been able to meet Dennis. And so she's like, it's a pleasure to meet you. And he introduces himself now on as Dennis. And so they get to really talk, and have more of a conversation of like, because she's trying to also get to the bottom of like, why are these other alters who is contacting me? Because he at this point as well, he's like, I don't know who's contacting you. Um, but he's basically
Yeah.
trying to
He
be
just
like,
says one of the.
yeah, but he's just basically trying to be like, I have it under control. Everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. And then she
Um,
starts asking him about the beast.
yeah,
And she says the beast is not the 24th identity. He's a fantasy that he lives in a train yard because Kevin's dad left on a train, while the rest of you live in a room in like with chairs.
yeah.
And so saying that the beast is not the 24th identity, um, but a fantasy.
Hmm. And at this point, that's whenever we cut back to Hedwig, and he wants to take Casey to go to his room.
Exactly. And
And
this scene is so awesome.
when he takes her to the bedroom,
Yeah. Whenever he turns on the like dubstep and
oh yeah,
dances for her, it is
hmm,
terrifying.
yeah,
Like,
he's
if just imagining being in her position, I was like, this is the weirdest fucking thing you could possibly see. And
very
James McAvoy
unhinged.
did, yeah, he looked so unhinged, and he did such a phenomenal job of like dancing in the most erratic ways and making the scene as uncomfy as possible.
And trying to make it into like literally a 9-year-old in a
Showing you like a
in a
cool
human's
cool trick.
body. Yeah, like
Yeah.
look what I can do, mom. Like look at this.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, exactly.
jumps. And so she's like, "Oh yeah, like okay, well this is so cool. Like where is that window that you were talking about?" And he's like, "Yeah, look, here's my window." And it's a picture of it's a drawing of a window that he drew, I'm assuming, that's on the wall. And she's like disappointed, and you can tell on her face that she's disappointed. And then he's like, "Wait a minute. Were you like just wanting to come into my room because you thought I had a window because like you wanted to break out?"
You wanted to leave, etc.
That makes so smart. And she's like, "No, that's not at all." Like, and so then somehow we segue into him showing her the walkie-talkie. And she's like, "Oh, is that real?" And he's like, "Yeah." And so she takes it, and he's like, "No, don't use it." And she's like, click, and turns it on and tries to contact someone on one of the channels. And he's not really doing too much to stop her or anything at this point. But she finally reaches someone on the walkie-talkie and
Mm-hmm.
is like, "Hey, is there's I'm one of the girls that it's, been abducted. I'm down here. I'm in a basement. Please send help." And the dude is like not believing her. He's like, "Who is this? Who put you up to this?" "Oh, okay. So and so, real funny." But before she can get to really getting any help, Dennis comes to, from, as the personality in charge, stepping into the light, and is able to take the walkie-talkie from her. And then, um,
Actually, I think it was Patricia.
was it Patricia?
because she says the sun line again here.
Oh, okay. It must have been Patricia then. But um, because at this
Regardless, it's
point,
not Hedwig.
yeah, she gets walked back to the bedroom, to her
Yeah.
room.
She says, put your hands together in contrition,
You're right. It is
like
Patricia
pray,
and contrition. Yeah.
and then recites the little sun line again with the sun will give us purpose and stuff. Um, and then she says, Dennis will explain the meaning of this evening.
Mm-hmm.
And then
And
this is where she sees a nail on the ground.
yeah, that's by the door frame, right?
Yeah. Was it a
Yeah,
nail? I think.
she saw
I
something.
couldn't really tell. Yeah, it's
Um,
something sharp.
but she then sees, we then cut to her having that flashback of now kind of showing more what happened with her uncle as we're, um, in this hunting situation outside in the outdoors, and her uncle asked her to come play with her, and to play like animals, and essentially, I guess, have their clothes off and do what else, you know, who else knows what. Um,
Yeah. Very
and
creepy situation.
yeah, so we're seeing all that happening with her and her uncle. And then we cut to Dr. Fletcher getting more emails. And at this point, is this the one where no, this isn't the like the chain of emails. This is just like one email, I think, right?
Well, actually, I think we get her holding the gun at her uncle and stuff too in that moment.
Oh, yeah.
But then it is the one with dozens of emails from Barry
Okay.
saying, we need you.
That's right. And because then we cut to like Dennis being on at the table and kind of coming back to from the phone and being like, whoa, you know. So obviously, um, he had lost time there and lost the light. And then uh, uh we cut to um Dr.
She
Fletcher. She's like
arrives
trying to
where Dennis
heading there. Uh-huh.
Yeah, Dr.
Hmm.
Fletcher arrives as Dennis is locking back the gates of some rather large gates. And we
Hmm.
later find out they're the gates for a zoo. Um, but she arrives and says she gets him to listen to him or her
Yeah.
basically. Brings her says you're quite extraordinary and stuff like and starts kind of like leaning into this idea of the beast. And so he brings her down to his living quarters and says he came into the light. Oh, they start talking about Kevin's mom and
Yeah.
stuff too, and says that he came into the light and has OCD because the only way to stay out of his mom's like harmful gaze was to keep everything spotless. And he came into the light when he was 3.
Hmm.
So this abuse started at a young age for Kevin, we can figure
Yeah.
out.
That is wild. Um,
Yeah.
and they're talking, and then they start talking about the beast, right? And then that's whenever she starts to kind of, as she's talking to him more and more, she starts to pick up more on like, okay, this might be a dangerous situation.
Yeah. Because
I'm
she
going.
says there must be limits to what a human can become.
Hmm.
Because he says he lied before when you asked if I had ever met the beast. And he says the beast is real. And he's much bigger than I am with a long mane of hair and twice as long fingers.
Yeah, which is really
And
like a monster. It's not
yeah, which
describing a
we've
human
seen
whatsoever at
drawings of
all.
him throughout the Vit movie. We
Yeah,
saw little like child's drawings looking of this beast kind of
but
thing.
maybe probably drawn by Hedwig.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's whenever we have uh she's gonna get up and go, and she's like, okay, deuces, I'm gonna head out now. But before she can do that, he, I mean, I guess is basic, I mean, you know, I don't think he ever had the intention of really letting her go anyways. But he comes up, and we, is this where he starts to chloroform her, or he starts to like hold her and then,
Not quite.
no,
She
yeah,
asked
he
to
just puts
use
her to
the
sleep.
bathroom
Oh yeah, that's
and
right. And she puts the little thing in the doorstop.
yeah, a little hanky in the
Yeah.
lock. and she sees the locked doors and then finds Claire, and
Mm-hmm.
then he pops up behind her, shuts the door, and she's like, I should have listened better. She says, I can't let you keep them here. This is like a horrible wrong that you're doing. And then, yeah, then he
It's
chloroforms her.
I think she uses the word egregious, right?
Yeah, she
Egregious.
does. Is a good
Yeah.
word.
Yeah. And then that's whenever, yeah, all that happens. And then I think he leaves because he's gonna go to the train, right? He's gonna go meet the beast
Yes.
at the train station. Uh-huh.
Yeah. And
Um,
he's like losing time and switching between personalities. Like one, I think it's Patricia wears the glasses and then Dennis doesn't. And they're like going in between each other and he's like thanking them. And we also got the girls finding a hangar, looking for something to escape, finding the hangar, and then trying to unlock that door.
yeah. Oh yeah, I forgot about that. That seems so hard to do, honestly.
Yeah, because you
With
can't
the
see what.
latch. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one thing
Uh,
like a car window, but
and I mean they're doing honestly almost pretty good. Like she's almost there, but unfortunately she doesn't get there fast enough.
yeah,
Because as she's, trying to get that door lock thing, we see on the train that like he's on the train and he's not meeting anybody. He's just basically transforming into the beast on the train, on a train cart. Um,
yep,
and then leaves and is like running on the way back to the location. So all this is happening as they're trying to escape. So it's like they're trying to beat the clock before he gets there. But
and Casey
unfortunately,
gets out of one room with that
oh yeah,
nail.
yeah,
She gets out of the room, but is still trapped inside that main room
yeah,
outside of their room. And this is where we get to see files with all of his personalities too on the computer, with like one with diabetes, and they keep talking about the horde that keeps obsessing about the ones who haven't suffered and stuff like that too.
hmm and we get to see more Barry. We get to actually see Barry,
Yeah, Barry
on the
talking.
computer. Yeah,
And then as he goes to leave, he takes his beanie and underneath it are the keys, and he grabs the keys, and so that clues her in to look under that beanie, and she finds the keys and is able to get out of that room.
yeah. And as this is happening, that's when, and then the beast arrives.
Yes,
Uh-huh.
and Dr. Fletcher um
She's trying
has
to get up
started
at this
coming
point,
to. Yeah,
coherent. Uh-huh.
and it's all happening so fast, everything in between, like all of them getting out and stuff like that. And then but yeah, he sees Dr. Fletcher and she's like still incoherent, and I like these like blurry shots that we're getting from her of her trying to like say his name,
Yeah.
and we saw that she had written a note as well.
Yeah, because you can tell she's trying to do something, but before she can, he comes up from behind her and starts to crush her.
Yeah, crushes her to death, kills
Mm-hmm.
her. It was pretty wild, just the brute strength to just
Mm-hmm.
crush a human being to death. It
Yeah,
was terrifying.
and we, have can finally see him for what he is in beast form, and he's like super jacked, and like his veins are like green, like all
Yeah,
you
they
can
were
see
like
them.
all over his chest, like bluish green, yeah, and they were
Mm-hmm.
protruding, and he looked like he was almost getting bigger in the
Yeah,
moment too. Like as she was just staring at his chest, that long shot of the pan on his chest, it looked like he was like literally growing.
yeah. And so we have her dying. But that's whenever we have um Casey now in there. She stumbles into the room. She sees that the therapist is dead, and she's like, "Oh shit!" But how does she get the piece of paper?
um so she goes in there a little bit later after found Marcia.
Oh
She
yeah,
finds
and sees that
Marcia's
they're dead.
body. Yeah, finds her eaten alive, her little tummy's all outside of her body.
Oh, how could I
Um,
forget that she then opens the door and finds Claire getting literally eaten alive.
Yeah, and Claire looked like at first it looked like Claire was okay, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh," because I forgot at this
Mm-hmm.
point in the movie. Like I've only seen Split once, one other time than this,
Yeah.
and so I forgot, and I was like, "Oh, thank God Claire's okay." And then you just see her body get dragged off, and then her like lifeless corpse like moving as he's eating her insides, and I
Mm-hmm.
was like, "Oh, damn." Um,
Yeah. I for some reason thought like because I hadn't seen it in a while too. I thought, oh, they might actually make it.
yeah, and
But
then
no,
they
they don't.
don't.
Unfortunately,
Yeah, I
that's so
didn't
sad
remember
too.
Dr. Fletcher dying and stuff either, and
I
I was
remembered her
like,
dying. Yeah.
"No," I was really
I just
sad
don't
when
remember
she
how.
died.
I just don't remember how.
Yeah,
And I was too, because honestly, she was just trying to do her job. And so we have um her then locking Claire and the Beast in that room, and then that's whenever she runs to go to get out of there, and she finds Dr. Fletcher's body, and then she finds the piece of paper on the like a dresser that says say his name, right?
yeah,
To wake him up, Kevin Wendell Crumb.
exactly.
And the Beast shows up, and she thankfully is able to say his name, Kevin Wendell Crumb, and it ends up snapping him out of the beast mode that he's in.
And he's
And
literally climbing the walls, you guys.
oh
Like
yeah, at this point.
this man
Hmm.
was like on the walls. It was bizarre. He was like Spider-Man, just like with no superpowers. This is just a fucking human being. Well,
Pure
I guess he's the
adrenaline.
beast, but
Yeah.
it was bizarre. And every time she says his name, it like makes him stumble. It's like breaking away at him slowly. She has to say his name several times before he finally comes to.
Hmm. And he does finally come to, and he's very much like, "Oh no, what have I done? Like, what's happened?" I think this is where we find out he literally hasn't been in control of his life for like 2 years because he asked if it's like
Yeah.
2015 or something like that.
Yeah, he's like it's still September 18th, 2014, right?
Yeah,
And she's like,
no,
no."
hell no.
And
And
he's like,
so
"You know what? Just fucking kill me."
end it now. Hmm. Yeah, he's like,
And
I've got a shotgun and the shells are I forget where, but if you go and get them,
in
like, please
his
just kill
like
me.
locker where his
Hmm.
jacket and stuff are out in the hall. And but then all of a sudden all the other ones come back to light. They come into the light and they're saying like, "Do not kill him. He just can't handle reality. Like their
Hmm.
actions do not represent us." Barry comes into the light and is like, "Sweetheart, my name's Barry." Like Barry's super nice and stuff
Hmm.
like that. But then Hedwig comes back and it's like, damn, she was
Yeah.
so close.
And once Hedwig is there, he gets taken over by Patricia very quickly.
Yeah.
Right?
Then
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
Patricia. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm.
And she tries his name again, but then she says, Kevin is asleep
Hmm.
and he's gone far away. Like you can say his name all he wants, but he's not coming back now.
Hmm. And then she calls on the beast to come back.
Yep. And she gets out. She runs with the shotgun, found it, and
Hmm.
is running. She finds the shells in his locker, is loading the gun, in the process of loading the gun and running like at the same time when the beast gets her.
Hmm.
And the
And
beast bites her leg real good.
gets a good chunk out of her.
It was a gnarly
Um,
looking wound.
yeah, definitely. And then she now has to run with this wound taken out of her chunk of flesh, and then that's whenever she ends up getting it. I mean, it's hard. They're in the basement, the bowels of the zoo, so it looks like a bunch of what is that like water mains, like heated with the the heat.
Yeah, there's like pipes and stuff
Uh,
everywhere.
the ones with like when the steam comes out and all that. And
Yeah.
I guess they're empty cages down there. I guess whenever they're holding animals or in transition or feeding them and stuff. But she ends up making her way down. And he's chasing after her, and it's very dark, so she can't see that well. And she has to then load up the shotgun and he's taunting her at this point too. He's just talking. He's basically saying, what the beast, what's his thing? Just, cleansing the world and like of the
Yeah, he says, "We are glorious. We will no longer be afraid. Only through pain can you achieve greatness. Um, the impure, the untouched, those who have not been torn have no value in themselves, and they have no place in this world. They are asleep."
hmm
And all the while, she's also flashing back to her childhood, and we see that her dad died, and that she's now gone into like
full full custody with her uncle.
with her uncle. Yeah.
hmm
And so she's starting to get like really into her trauma. Um, and then she's shooting. She shoots like 3 times, only has like 2 shells left in her hand. And
Yeah.
he is getting closer and closer. He's like climbing on the ceiling, knocking the lights out. And then he says, "Your gun cannot hurt me. I am not human." He says, "Kevin is a man, but I am much more." And then she fucking shoots him
Yeah.
twice with a
hmm
shotgun. And
And
this
he
man is still standing.
unfazed, like just pushing through it. Because she at this point had found a cage, fortunately for her, and has put herself behind the cage, right?
Yeah, to
Yeah,
like
yeah.
protect her
hmm
from him.
And so yeah, she's shooting him. He's not going down at all. And then at this point, why does she starts to take off her last
Well,
shirt, article of
yeah,
clothing, no?
because it had gotten ripped open whenever he was
Yeah.
going at her leg.
hmm
He like clawed her shirt open. And so her shirt falls off, and we see that she's covered in what I'm assuming are like self-harm scars.
Some type of scars, yeah, all over
Yeah.
her body.
And this is where he says, "You are different from the rest. Your heart is pure. Rejoice. The broken are the more evolved. Rejoice." He was like a
Yeah.
pastor.
Yeah, literally. And at this point, it's like, no, dude, I'm not rejoicing. I'm terrified.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, he essentially just kind of like backs up and lets her go. Just kind of runs off.
Yep.
La-
He after he pries open the cage too, like
Oh yeah,
iron,
he's very
with his
strong.
bare hands, and like puts his head through it, and his eyes and his little teeth with the blood coming out. It was such a wild
hmm
scene.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy to see what he could do in his beast mode, which also kind of gives, maybe Dr. Fletcher was right. Maybe she was onto something about people, um, unlocking a next level of physical potential.
Yeah.
And yeah, he ends up leaving her. And this is when we had like I guess some worker at the zoo who's coming down here to to smoke on a break or something, I don't know. Ends up finding her in the cage and he's like, "What the heck are you doing down here?" And he's
Jesus,
able
Mary and Joseph.
they're able to yeah, and they're able to and they go upstairs and they're like, this girl was down in the basement. And that's whenever we find out the other dude who was on the walkie-talkie talking to her earlier, and they call the
Vince.
cops. And
Yeah. He was,
finally,
"Oh, you?"
yeah,
Like, "Oh shit, you were real."
yeah, which sucks for her that
Yeah.
nobody
Like,
took it
"Yeah, bitch,
seriously.
you would have just believed me from the get-go,
hmm
then
And
none
so,
of this would have happened."
right? Maybe she could have been saved a few hours earlier. And that's whenever we find out that like she's basically been under a zoo this whole time. Which I mean we kind of
Yep.
could have already picked up, but like it's definitely cemented here where it's like you're in a zoo and it makes sense because his ultimate character is literally called the Beast, which is kind of an amalgamation of all the creatures that are there at the zoo. Um
Yep.
that he's been working at. And she's getting checked out by like the ambulance, EMTs and stuff, and she is getting told that her guardian is there to pick her up. So we're already seeing her like kind of like in her face very much thinking of like, well, she escaped basically one hell just to go back to her
Go
normal
back to
hell.
another. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what I wrote. Hell to another.
which sucks. um and we have her, then it cuts to like the news reports on the TV going over the situation, and we're in a diner now, And that's whenever we have
And we also
some.
see that Dennis survived and was patching himself up.
Oh yeah.
Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're
Yeah, yeah,
saying
yeah.
that we trust in him and he will protect us.
That's right. Oh yeah, because even Hedwig is like, "Oh my God, this is so cool."
Yeah. I think even touches one of the wounds and is like, whoa, awesome.
Yeah. Um, and yeah, we're getting those news reports, and then there's like customers at the diner talking about how, oh, there someone else that this kind of happened to. And before we get that, sorry, it was talking about how like they call him he's basically got a villain nickname called the Horde because of all of
Yeah.
the personalities that are in him. And then they're talking about like, oh, wasn't there someone else that this happened to? And Bruce Willis's character does his cameo and he's like, oh yeah, his name's Mr. Glass,
Mr. Glass.
which sets
And
up
then,
the third movie.
exactly.
Hmm.
Which, again, hadn't
Yeah.
seen, I've never
Well,
seen it either of the other movies.
and the movies are very much, except for Glass, I think like Unbreakable and this one Split are they're standalone movies. So
You don't
they're
really need to see the
mm-hmm.
other
And
ones. Yeah.
it's actually there was a term. Oh, it's called commentators have dubbed Split the first ever stealth sequel, as it is the first solo supervillain origin film and first movie to not market itself as such, instead saving the revelation for a scene featuring Bruce Willis reprising his unbreakable role in an uncredited cameo at the end of the film. So, yeah. Um, yeah. And that you guys is 2017 Split, directed by M. Night Shyamalan. Shyamalama Ding Dong.
Exactly. And, well, what did you think?
I thought it was a really good movie. I thought that the acting was superb. I thought Anya did a really good job. I really enjoyed her character because she was like smart, but also vulnerable, but you could tell that she was still scared at some certain points. And she was like a really real, believable character. Like she wasn't that one character that's like, oh man, she's like conveniently getting out and like, oh, conveniently getting free and conveniently like beating up the bad guy, even though she's literally like a 14-year-old girl. Um, it was realistic. And I really enjoyed James McAvoy because he played a really good um he did really good at portraying someone who has to like basically be like 23 different characters in one person, um
Yeah.
which is
His
tough to
performance was
iconic.
honestly, yeah, iconic. It was incredible.
Should have just like should have deserved an Oscar, um
Yeah.
because he, especially like when he's playing like Patricia, when he's playing Hedwig, he really knew how to embody these other identities inside of Kevin. And even though it was a bit long, it never necessarily felt like it was dragging, and everything was well explained enough for it to all make sense and for it to all kind of um not lead. It's a smart movie, but sometimes smart movies are trying to be too smart that they leave you kind of being like, what? And this one isn't. It's smart enough, but it also is like A, B, C equals D. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, it was
not.
almost like a puzzle where
Mm-hmm.
you start kind of with a general idea and then the whole picture becomes more clear as the movie goes on.
Yeah,
And you
that
get
makes
these
sense.
little tidbits of information that help you put the pieces together. And then you see the final picture at the end. I thought it was really good how it did that.
Mm-hmm. The cinematography was pretty good too. I feel like there was a lot of nice shots, and like the lighting and everything was chosen really good to really convey like when we were down in the basement with the girls, but then even like the nice 180 when we would be with the therapist and like his bright sunny room of daylight, you know.
Yeah.
um so overall I would give this movie a 4.5, 4.5 boost.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think I really like it. I thought it was really good. I don't,
It is really good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
would agree with you. I borderline want to give this movie a 5.
You know
What
what?
makes you not give it a 5?
Because the girls died.
Oh.
I wish they wouldn't have died, and I wish Dr. Fletcher wouldn't have died. But I also know that it's a horror, like supposed to be the stakes are higher because of it. Um, you know what? It's a 5. I'll give it a 5 because there's no real reason for me to not give it a 5. It was a good story. It's good acting. It scares me because it's not necessarily a scary movie, but because of the scary and real life implications of like, what if this did happen to me or someone I know? Or like, what if I go crazy one day and develop 38 personalities and become a psycho killer, crazy murderer? That's a
Yeah.
wild thought, you know? Because I'm sure he didn't imagine his life that way.
No, he just all of a sudden, yeah, like I mean, poor Kevin was like, "What did I do?"
Yeah.
Whenever he came to and stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't think he ever was like, "Yeah, this is a great thing for me."
Oh yeah, exactly.
Made his life
So
incredibly difficult.
it's pretty yeah, it's a pretty good film. I think it was done also in a way where it's like it's not also there's some like, it's on the thing where I'm reading like wiki and all that where like some mental health advocates have criticized the film for its stigmatization of mental illness, but honestly don't think it was done distastefully at all. I think it was done in a way that it pertains to this story, you know what I mean? It's not an overall like generalization of DID. It's like
Yeah,
just what this story is focusing on.
agreed. Yeah, I think I would have to give it a 5 as well.
Hmm.
Just because, yeah, I don't have any reason I dislike this movie at all. I thought it was really easy to get through. I will say taking notes on it was a little hard at sometimes because I had to like keep like pausing and catching up with my notes and then like
Hmm.
replaying it and stuff. But James McAvoy's performance alone was just, I mean, just like Christian Bale's performance last week in American Psycho, his performance today was completely stand up, and he deserves all the accolades for being able to portray 23 distinct personalities. And I mean, I know we didn't really get to see all 23, but we did see at
No,
least like 7.
a few, especially in the scene where she's getting to see the video footage, the diaries.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and then like whenever right after Kevin comes to, and then he
Hmm.
says to kill me, we get like 2 or 3 other individuals who we didn't really get to see.
That's
Um,
true.
so yeah, I think he and the way that he was able to switch between those characters on the like drop of a hat was amazing to me. Um, yeah, the is it Anya or
Anya,
Anya?
it's An, it's Anya.
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 Okay. Anya Taylor-Joy's performance, she did a wonderful job. All the actors did a great job. I thought Claire Marcia did a good job of performing and making it look like they're
Hmm.
fucking terrified as well.
Yeah.
Um, Dr. Fletcher was she I felt so sad when she died because she was so good to him.
Yeah, she was really
And
just trying to help and trying
it was
to be a good doctor.
Yeah, exactly. And so that was really upsetting when she died. But I think that they kind of had to die in order to make, because the stakes were raised. Had everyone just made it out alive, I don't think it would have been as good of a movie.
Hmm.
Um, because, yeah, it did. The loss sometimes, the loss of someone can sometimes be a good thing. And I think we kind of had to lose them in order to gain the full appreciation for this movie. Like it hurts so good kind of thing.
Yeah, I agree. It definitely makes the movie feel like, you went through all the emotions, literally all of them.
Exactly.
Well, I don't think I ever felt joy to be. Well, maybe joy when
She got
she's
out.
free, but even then, it was like, nah.
More like shock.
Yeah, still. But yeah. But
You
yeah,
want some
that.
trivia?
If you'd like to add it, yes.
Okay. Inspiration for the film, real life multiple personality Billy Milligan, who lived from February 14th, 1955 to December 12th, 2014, charged with 3 rapes, was the first person diagnosed with multiple personality disorder to use an insanity defense by reason of that disorder, and also first to be acquitted thus. Milligan had 24 personalities consisting of 10 desirables: Billy Milligan, Arthur, Reagan, Vatiskanovich, Alan, Tommy, Danny, David, Christine, Christopher, and Adelena, and 13 undesirables: Phil, Kevin, Walter, April, Samuel, Mark, Steve, Lee, Jason, Bobby, Sean, Martin, and Timothy, and the teacher, a fusion of all the personalities.
Wow.
So,
That's
based on a
wild.
real life story. James McAvoy broke his hand during filming after he got angry at not getting a scene. So, it's a little childish, but he
Very
became so
Hedwig
annoyed.
behavior.
Yeah, he became so annoyed with his performance that he ended up hitting a door, which he thought was a fake door, but it was a solid metal door. And viewers can see that his hand is injured during the scene where he's on the train and putting on his glasses.
Hmm.
Um, in order to prevent leaks, the final scene was not included in the shooting script and also omitted from all test screenings.
Oh, wow. They really didn't want people
Yeah.
to know the ending.
Yeah, I guess not. And then when Joaquin Phoenix and the production couldn't reach a contract agreement, James McAvoy was cast as the lead. Joaquin
Oh.
Phoenix would have been good too, but I think James
Uh,
McAvoy was necessary for this role. I
I
think
can't
he,
even see Joaquin doing this. I couldn't see Joaquin doing Hedwig. I mean, I
yeah,
could,
I
but
couldn't see.
it wouldn't be like
Joaquin's good at
thanks.
playing a crazy person,
Yeah, but like
like in the Joker and stuff.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it, especially
Yeah,
after
I think it
James'
was,
performance.
yeah, it was so good that it felt like it can't be anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then M. Night Shyamalan stated that shooting this film was the most challenging of his career.
Oh, huh. Like I
Oh,
wonder if
and then M.
that's
Night
till this
Shyamalan
day.
also has a cameo in all of his movies, and
Yes.
he was Jay, the Hooters guy, where Dr. Fletcher works, watching the security cameras,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I remember that part.
who reheated the
Yeah.
Hooters. Yeah, that was Shyamalan.
I didn't realize that that was a Hooters.
Yeah, he said she had this whole commentary on Hooters and why it's not good for society and just how trash Hooters basically is.
Mm. Shout out to
Because she was like,
Hooters.
"Is this reheated fast food establishment?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's from Hooters." And she was like,
Gotcha.
"Yeah." She kind of laid
Um,
into him with her like, you know, therapist jargon, and he was just like, "Okay,
not today.
yeah,
But yeah. Um, any other fun factoids?
nope." That's all I got for you today.
That's all we got, folks. Well, that was a good one. I can't remember what we're covering next, but I don't remember what we're covering next, but everybody should
As
stay tuned
always,
because yeah, as always, we're in the lovely, well, we're not in the studio, but we're being taken care of by Rogue Media Network.
that's right. And you can listen to us and all their other amazing podcasts all in one central place, which is
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
that's right. And if you want to listen to us, you can find us on a slew of podcasting platforms, but the biggest two would be,
Spotify.
and also Apple. But wherever you do
Mhm.
listen, don't forget to.
Rate, review, like, and subscribe.
That's right, because that's the only way that we can get ahead in this world. And word of mouth, tell your friends. We really
Hmm.
appreciate it when you do. And then, were you able to find what we're
Uh,
covering next?
yes, I have, and it is Train to Busan.
Train to Busan! Yay!
Yes, Train to
I love
Busan.
Train to Busan.
So we finally made it to zombie month.
Zombie month. Speaking of which, when are we doing the Romero film? Because I told Ryan this morning about how I feel like I need to come down into town because he's like the Romero expert.
Oh, that one, I don't believe we'll be doing it for literally few more months.
Oh, that he's not in the zombie month.
No, it was like well, I guess we could put it into this one. Yes, we will figure that out. Okay.
Okay.
Um, but yes, so zombies, yay.
Yay,
Um,
zombies.
Train to Busan is the next episode. But if people want to request a specific zombie movie or have any input or want to talk to us about their favorite zombie movies, they can do that. And how can they do that, Caitlin?
You can contact us on our one social media platform, which is Instagram, and that is
At BooBaes Podcast, and that's at BOOBAES, because you're BooBaes, not your Boo Babe. Were you BooBaes, not your Boo Babes.
That's right. But yeah, so Train to Busan is next, and
Yes.
then we really hope you enjoyed our covering of Split from 2017. You got a solid 5 from us. So let us know if you felt the same, or if you actually did have something that you disliked about this film. Let us know.
Yeah, which how could you? But some people might.
Some people might.
Okay, you know what? Yes, we will do Night of the Living Dead after Train to Busan.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yay.
that works out. Okay, yay. All right. Well, until next time,
Until next time, you guys.
bye, bays.
Bye, bays.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.